Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we have this position. It's white to move and win. So you can pause the video to find the answer on your own. Okay, it looks very suspicious because it looks like a draw. Black has a queen, but the queen can give multiple checks, and at the end it's going to be a draw. But there is one move that actually wins here. So you can pause the video to find the answer. Okay, so if you thought about okay, there has to be some kind of a checkmate here for white because the black king can only move here, so there has to be something, right? We cannot waste time playing bishop to d2, trying to control that square and then checkmate because black has many checks. We're forced to move away. We cannot push. That's a free pawn, and whenever we move away, well, it's not going to be a win anymore. And for example, bishop check right here. Black king can just run. Yes, we have many more checks, but the king can just run, and after some checks, um, black can run. Now no more checks. And not to mention this one loses the game on the spot. So also for you might be thinking about rook to a4 check, but the king can run. Another check like this, we reach the same position. Okay, and this is not going to be winning. It's going to be a draw. So what is the best move here? What is the only move that actually wins here for white? It's actually very, very weird, but it's really cool. The move is rook to c2, sacrificing the rook, attacking the queen. Now here black has many moves. He has this check on b8, queen e8, queen f8, queen g8, queen takes, because you might be thinking, okay, this is just a free rook. Why cannot black just take? Well, we're going to look at this variation. Let's see first what happens if he played a check. Then we can block with the bishop, and once the queen move, it doesn't really matter where. This would be not a checkmate, but this would be a check. He's forced to go here, and this would be a check. But in this position, that's a really cool move. Queen to b3, stopping us from playing any kind of check. So for example, we play this check first because we don't want the king to run away, right? Now he has to push, but we don't have this check on g3 because black can just take. So what do? We play a brilliant move, rook to c4, sacrificing the rook, giving a check. The king cannot move. He cannot block because it is pawn. The pawn is pinned. He has to take with the queen, and g3 is checkmate. So that what happens if he played queen to b8 check. Okay. So what happens if he played, for example, queen e8? Well, queen to e8. Here, there's a different stuff going on here. He can play many checks, like this and this, but we already saw what's going to happen after a queen to b8 check. We have this. But we need to control this check because this check is very dangerous. We're going to lose the bishop, right? So we have to play rook to c5. We're controlling the square. Black has no checks except this one, which is really bad. Now, black can play anything right here, but it doesn't really matter what. He can try. He can try to play queen to e3 to stop many checks as possible, but we have bishop to d8 check. He has to block with the pawn. This is not checkmate, but this is. He cannot block. He cannot do anything. He has to block with the queen, and then we can still take it. Because he cannot take, it's going to be pinned. Okay. What about queen f8, for example? Right? Queen to f8. Well, here, that's a really cool position. Right here, we start with the move rook to c4 check, kicking the king away, and then we play check with the bishop. Now he cannot block, that's a free queen. And what we're trying to do, we're trying to force the black king to the f file where the queen is located. So for example, he goes here, we play a check with the rook, he goes back to protect, we can just take his queen after it takes back. We put the bishop here, make sure the pawns are not going to move, and then we can just move the king, win the pawns, promote, and win the game. That's a very simple one. And all the other moves are actually bad. Like for example, queen g8, like here, the same thing. We play this move to restrict the enemy king from running away. This would be checkmate. He can play queen b8 check, but we can block, and he doesn't have any other option than to lose. Okay. But the more serious move and the more reasonable move is queen takes rook, right? Now what do we have? We don't have this check because the pawn is pinned, but we surely don't want the king to run away. So we have to play this move, bishop to d8 check. He's forced to block with the pawn. Okay, now we reach a cool position. The king cannot move, right? But we need to do something to win this game. Is there a check that leads to checkmate right away if we move the bishop somewhere? Yes, and that is bishop to e1. So we go bishop to a5, trying to give this check. He cannot block or anything. It's going to be checkmate. And not to mention, he does not have any checks. For example, you might be thinking that queen c2 actually leads to some kind of a draw. Bishop takes. This is not a draw. Black can push, and this would be a checkmate. We don't take. That's a draw. It's not a draw, but I guess. But it's better to checkmate here. Okay. So after he plays this move, g5, we go with the bishop all the way back to a5 to try to checkmate here. Now what happens? Now here, it doesn't really matter what black played. He needs to stop this check somehow. Okay, bishop to e1 check. He can play queen f2, queen e2. It doesn't really matter. Queen e2 or queen f2, the same thing. Because we only have one move to counter that, and that is bishop to c7. See, the idea of bishop to c7, if we cannot checkmate with the pawn, then we're going to checkmate with the bishop. The black cannot play this move. It's going to be checkmate in one. So the king cannot escape. Only the queen can try to stop this check. Okay. Now here, queen to e5 check. We can just take it. G4. This would be a checkmate. Okay. But what happens if he plays queen to f2? Bishop here is not possible because just a free bishop. Cannot play this move because it's pinned. And there's nothing that we can do. Right? Except there is only one move, and that is bishop to d6. This move, it just wastes time. Okay? We're waiting for him to make a bad move. He cannot move this pawn, it's going to be a checkmate. Right? He cannot move the king, he cannot move the pawn, and he needs to move the queen. And he either has to allow g3 check or bishop here check. So for example, if he moved back, protecting the square from the bishop, but then we have a check. This is checkmate. He needs to take, and then this is checkmate. Okay, what else can he do? He can play queen g1, actually. He can sack the queen, and after we take, he plays g4, but this is, I mean, we can take, and after it takes back, for example, with the king or whatever, then we have king h2, and we can try to make our way to get to the pawn. Other variation that he can play, well, what can he play? g4 is bad because of the checkmate. Queen e3, that's good. But that's the same thing. He's stopping this check from the bishop, but black cannot stop g3. And now he needs to sack, and bishop takes. So that's it. Thank you for watching.